All right. Welcome to Nostalgicast, your weekly roundup of the best and most up-to-date nostalgic news, where we discuss the stories and give our thoughts. I'm your host, who grew up wanting to be Donnie Most, Andrew Price. Tyler Palo. Go to the field and sit on it, Kelby Joseph. And Dad Beats, a.k.a. Sitcom Dad Beats, a.k.a. Kirk Pinchon.
Dad Beats.
Sick.
Nice.
The real 11th hour one on that one.
Yeah, like literally
I just came up
seconds
with that whole
ago.
thing. It's not my finest moment.
Well, you know, I don't know why you gave Tyler Fonzie.
Yeah.
I think
the hair.
He's obviously a Mr. Cunningham.
self-explanatory. I gotta say though, I gotta come out the gate and say that I lied. I definitely was a Richard Cunningham kid all the way.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked Ralph Malph.
I hated Ralph Malph. God, I hated that fucker. Sorry, I did.
Is Ralphie, what's his name?
Ralph was the guy who always had really bad jokes.
Redhead.
Redhead.
Ralph Malph, and Richie.
Yeah.
Oh, Richie. Sorry,
I liked
Richie. Richie is
obviously fun. I was down with Richie.
that famous director. What's his name?
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
What's his name? Opie.
Opie.
It's funny that you think of him as that famous director, because I think of him as an actor who became a director.
Yeah.
Like
Nicolas Cage.
no, not Nicolas Cage. The guy.
Javier Bardem.
No, stop. The guy from Ozark.
Jason Bateman.
Oh, I fucking love Jason Bateman.
Loves me some Bateman.
I think I want him and the other SNL. He's an SNL guy. I can't remember his name. Fuck.
What's with you names all
I
of a
know.
sudden?
The guy who was in the Mumford and Sons video with him,
Sudeikis?
Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yes. Exactly. I just want movies with just them two in it. I love them.
I don't think I'm.
They're the same guy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That would be bad casting.
yeah.
At the top of the show, quick correction from last episode. I misspoke, and I realized when I was listening it back that I said that Terry Jones directed Labyrinth, but he wrote Labyrinth. Jim Henson directed Labyrinth, of course. But yeah, I misspoke. A quick update. Only bringing this up because I just think it's super interesting. As many of you / all of you know, this past week saw the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant. Mm-hmm. Died in a tragic helicopter crash along with his daughter and several other people. And of course, that's a story in and of itself. In the wake of this, Planters came out and said that they were pulling their... Last episode, we talked about the Planters Nuts Super Bowl advertising campaign where Mr. Peanut dies in a fucking car explosion.
Yeah.
They released an ad that was building up to like some commercial during the Super Bowl, which was Mr. Peanut's funeral. And so they've pulled that now out of respect for the recent tragedy. The thing that immediately occurred to me, though, about this is, what else did you think was going to happen?
Meaning
They should have saw this coming.
that someone was going
People die all the time, every day. Like there's a new celebrity death like every other day. How did they not think that this was going to end up happening? That they were going to have some poor timing where somebody was going to die, and then they were going to feel a little weird about putting out this thing of like a funeral for Mr. Peanut. How did they not know that this was going to happen? This is like, it's just like, it seems like marketing rule 101 is like, don't do a thing about death because you're inevitably going to step on the toes of a real death, and then you're going to lose like millions of dollars because you're going to pull this thing out.
I think that it maybe have been different circumstances depending on the death. Mm-hmm. So if it had been, I hate to run names, but say Mel Brooks died peacefully in his sleep of old age, they would have kept that commercial. But a fiery crash, which is similar to the helicopter crash, you're like, well, maybe that's insensitive.
I don't think I agree. I think the reason why I think
Guaranteed, if celebrity died of old age or they were like 80 or something, they would still do this commercial.
Yeah, but that's completely different. Like I think the reason why they would still do the commercial if Mel Brooks passed away is because it just wouldn't have been as big or high profile of a death. Like I think it's more about the person than it is the way that they died. Like,
I think it's combined.
It's because Kobe Bryant was such a big thing that they did that, and it was also sports related, I guess. A celebrity passing away of old age, I think, is a completely different category of celebrity death. But if any, I believe that if any celebrity that was big enough and high profile enough died of anything that wasn't natural causes, like cancer or something like that, if they died in anything besides that, they would have pulled this.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. What I'm saying.
Yeah, but
You literally just said.
Well,
yeah,
you were
but
saying you were saying other circumstances. So you just mean the only way they wouldn't have pulled it if it was a natural death. Like
I think if when Anton Yelchin died because his car like crushed him to death, I think they would have pulled it.
Well,
for
that's
that.
an accident. So that's insane. That's a car accident. So those are big
the
accidents.
percentage chance of that happening is so high that it seems like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, it just seems like such an obvious thing that you should probably just not do a like that was my thought when I saw it. I was like, this feels.
They would have put that thing right on Super Bowl.
Who?
what?
If Anton Yelchin.
No, I just didn't hear you. Everybody who knows who Anton Yelchin
Not,
is.
not true.
Meh.
Yes,
true.
yes, they do.
That's not
they
true.
They definitely
That's not
do.
true.
He's not that big of a name.
He wasn't that big of a
He wasn't. He was a great
was a
actor.
popular,
All right,
good actor.
he was not a huge name.
No, he's not a mega celebrity. If he passed away the same form and fashion as Kobe Bryant, they'd still play that commercial.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree at all. I think you chose a very wrong person to make that point with, because the Anton Yelchin death was huge. It was a huge story. It was.
I mean,
Not on the level of
no,
the Kobe
at
one.
all. Nowhere near it.
I think
no.
few things would be on the level of Kobe, but
That's
in the
true.
same thing,
I think
they
it was on the
yes.
level of Kobe, not because of his belovedness, but because of the nature of it. It was like a huge story. The fact that he parked his Jeep and engaged the emergency brake, and then he went to check his mail, and then the emergency brake didn't work, and the car came down. That story was giant, and it was like this huge thing where like the family was going to sue the company, and then I saw like hundreds and hundreds of articles talking about this. Like I recognize and agree that Anton Yelchin wasn't as big of a celebrity as Kobe Bryant, but I think because of the circumstances, the way that he died, that story was huge. And it would have.
I don't know.
Definitely,
I heard about it, and then I was like, oh.
I would say,
that's your own personal like level of interest, though.
But that's what I feel it is with you as well. With Anton Yelchin, your
I agree
level of
that
interest with Anton Yelchin is bigger than other people.
No, I have no interest in basketball, and not to speak ill of the dead, but I had no interest in Kobe Bryant. But I still recognize that was a giant story.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying, like, if I would say, and apologies for getting maudlin, but we're doing it anyway. The Paul Walker death is bigger than the Anton Yelchin death.
Definitely that.
That's something they would have not done the commercial. That's huge.
But
That's the same.
This all just goes. This all just goes back to my point, though, that the likelihood of that seems so high that it just seems like such a financial risk to spend
do it
millions of
for
dollars
any time.
on a campaign that involves like parodying the idea of a celebrity death. That's what it is. It's a parody of a celebrity death.
What if it was someone who died of a drug overdose? I think they'd still do the commercial.
I think they would do the commercial.
They would do the commercial.
I think it depends on who it was.
At that point, actually, at that point, I think it depends on who it would.
Eddie Vedder.
They'd run it.
I don't know why. I
run
don't know why I
The
said
thing
Eddie Vedder.
is, when we watch the Mr. Peanut commercial, he's like hanging from the thing. There's a plane or a car or something. It seemed within the realm of like the tragedy that just happened.
It hits a little too close.
It felt too close.
I mean, it's I definitely agree. I definitely agree that this was as close to home as it could have been.
Right.
I still
agree.
think they would have pulled it for lesser close to home. And ultimately, what I think about my real point is, I think if you're sort of doing the math of behind the scenes of what happened with this, I think that somebody in the marketing department had this idea, and the whole thing was like, shaking things up and being like, we're gonna get like, people really don't care about the Planters Nuts brand.
Yeah,
let's do something really evocative, and like it'll be kind of like almost insensitive or shocking on purpose. And we will capitalize on the virality of it, whether people think it's funny or think it's disrespectful, and it'll be fine because ultimately it's just a joke. And like somebody pitched this idea as like a win-win situation where even if people thought it was insensitive, it would still get people talking about them. And ultimately, it's not like the worst crime to commit in the world, so they could sort of get away on plausible deniability of just being like it was a joke. And whoever did that is fired.
Well, I think it's really
fired.
interesting.
No,
It's
they're
really
not
interesting.
I don't think they're fired.
I think they're fired. But I do think it's interesting that there was a lot of buzz about this ad. Like people are like, "Oh my God, Planters, that character's gonna die, and Wesley Snipes is in this. This is crazy." And now they're just like, "Oh, we're done.
Yeah.
We're stopping."
What are they going to do with that Super Bowl time? Because you got to buy that like years in advance, don't you?
Nah.
No.
No.
What?
Not
It's
years
like-
in advance.
Months?
Or months.
Yeah, months.
I mean,
in
they
advance.
bought the spot already. Is what
I mean, they
getting
could.
at.
Hey,
they could-
there's somebody else that wants it.
They could have a
Coca-Cola.
Kobe Bryant tribute.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, they are going to have a
Probably
Kobe
gonna
Bryant
do, yeah.
tribute
As
at
a
the Super
commercial?
Bowl.
I mean,
no, I
Planters-
think in the
Planters
Super Bowl.
themselves.
Oh yeah, I think I heard about that. Yeah, somebody else is gonna want to buy it. You know, Coca-Cola, Budweiser. Doritos.
Oh, you think?
Or they could go
Planters,
hard
it's
in the
just
other direction, and then the commercial could just be Kobe Bryant and Mr. Peanut like hanging out in heaven.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That you-
Oh, wait, like it's just like in memorandum, R.I.P. Kobe Bryant, and then like so R.I.P. Mr. Peanut together.
You think it
Oh
starts
my
out, and you think it's going to be
God.
like a respectful,
Think
and
of
then at
Kobe.
the end there's the twist ending. Where they're still riding hard for the Mr. Peanut is dead.
That
That
would be
would
the
be
guys that
so
got fired.
awful.
Like, most of you guys, y'all say that in the meeting. They'll be like, "Yo, let me see you in the office real quick."
I was gonna bring this up last time, but I think they're gonna still have him gone though. I don't think they're gonna use him as a
Mascot.
mascot anymore, and I think they're gonna bring in
Unveil a new
Baby Peanut,
like Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda, Baby Peanut. Yeah.
Yeah, after last week, I'll remain silent.
I see Andrew's blood's already boiling. His face is pink.
Before we get into the stories, the doomsday clock
Oh yeah.
is a minute to midnight.
Is it?
What is happening? Actually, the real doomsday clock is 100 seconds to midnight. We're fucked.
That's what I was wondering. But
I'm talking about the reboot doomsday clock. What is happening in reboot land?
Yeah.
oh, okay.
What is going on?
It's crazy.
Everything's on fucking fire.
Yep.
Last episode was the beginning of the end. We talked about the Lizzie McGuire episode. Was that last episode? Maybe
That
it was.
was or two episodes ago.
I think, yeah,
We
two
ta- there was it was the tip of the iceberg. Lizzie McGuire, after shooting 2 episodes, halted production. The creator / showrunner left the show due to creative differences, and now this past week has been just a barrage of just fucking disaster after disaster. There was an Obi-Wan Kenobi show that was being developed for Disney Plus, starring Ewan McGregor, who played Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels. A lot of people say that like he was the only good salvageable part of the prequels in terms of like if we ever had Obi-Wan Kenobi in a thing again, we'd want it to be Ewan McGregor. Guess I agree with that. I really have no big opinion on Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I like Ewan McGregor, but I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, I like Ewan McGregor, but
Yeah.
I just I'm not like, yeah, he's great. But they were developing this show. We talked about it a couple episodes ago that there was going to be a bearded Jar Jar Binks on it, which you fucking freaks love.
I dig a beard.
love a good
I'm in
beard.
for that.
And that Mace Windu was going to have a cameo. And now they've shut down production on that. Due to apparently there's been some concerns with the script. Kathleen Kennedy, who sort of oversees the Star Wars universe at Disney, didn't like the scripts for the first couple episodes, and apparently there's been rumors of some creative clashes between Ewan McGregor and the studio, and so now they've shut down the production on that indefinitely. And I will say, just to be fair and give every piece of information its due, that in follow up to this, during a press conference or during an interview or whatever, Ewan McGregor said that this was all not true and that there was no validity to the rumors that the show was getting shut down or that there was like all this drama. And he said that the show was just being delayed to shoot pushed from August to next January. But I'm still including the story because I think that, in my opinion, that's probably bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
got
done.
really
And it's
confused.
just
It's
damage
like,
damage
yeah,
control.
he's like, no, I don't believe anything on the internet. It's bullshit. We're just delayed. But then it seems like the official word is that it's indefinite.
Yeah.
Like Disney didn't say, hey, we're just delayed. It's not a big deal. He's saying it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little confusing.
You guys want this?
The
delay?
show or the delay?
Yeah, you want the show?
I don't really care.
Yeah, either way, I'm
I'm
not.
open.
I'll probably check it out if it came out on Disney Plus. I love The Mandalorian, so I don't know why I wouldn't want to check it out. But
I would check it out, and I would have high hopes that it's like The Mandalorian at that level.
But
I jump ship quick.
I'm interested in seeing new stories in the Star Wars universe that take place in a non-prequel time. Like even when I was a kid, I was like, I really was rare in that. Even when I was a kid, I just didn't have a whole lot of interest in what the prequels were. I definitely went and saw them. Multiple times with friends in the theaters. I definitely had Star Wars toys from the prequels and played the video games, and in general was a Star Wars fan. But I was like, I don't care about Darth Vader when he was a kid. I want to hear stories that are taking place, like The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian it takes place in between Return of the Jedi and what is the later trilogy of The Force Awakens and so on and so forth. So it kind of is a prequel to that.
Oh, I see.
But it's like, it's in untread territory. It's not like, here's the origin of Finn.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a character that has nothing to do with any of the mainline movies. So it's not a prequel to anything. It's just its own like little thing that's happening. So while I would check it out, I also just really, I don't really care I never cared what Obi-Wan was getting up to before A New Hope. I just never cared.
Agree.
Living in the cave.
What about you, Kelly?
I've had enough of this Star Wars thing. It's enough. Give us 10 years. Like, give us a break. I don't ever want to hear Star Wars again. Except for my man Jar Jar Binks.
If we're gonna continue with the Star Wars stuff, I want like them to start just make it its own genre and start making pieces inside of the history. Like I want like a think piece that's super well shot about the day that Anakin comes to kill all the baby Jedi. Just like that entire day, like a kind of extremely loud and Terribly Close or whatever that 9/11 movie was, just like that for those kids.
So you just want to see kids die?
I want to say
decidedly Tyler thing to add to this.
Yeah. But also, if you want Star Wars lore that's after what we currently have, The Men Who Stare at Goats is
the George Clooney movie.
Yes,
right.
is
what is the connection to that? Because they have like psychic. They
call themselves Jedi with no actual reference to the Jedi themselves.
Yeah, and they're trying to train themselves to have psychic powers.
And they do though in the movie they do, and it's like proven. And Ewan McGregor plays a newly initiated Jedi, and I'd love to think that he is the descendant of Obi-Wan. And it's on regular Earth, and this is how that's why it's a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Your brain.
You took it around.
Your brain, man.
I was about to kick you out of here. But.
Oh God.
So that's delayed indefinitely, and then Disney was developing a block of adult-oriented Marvel animated shows for Hulu, which
is that hentai?
Like. Animated porn?
No, like adult cartoons, like Rick and Morty or Family Guy. They're not.
Are those considered adult?
Yes.
Okay. Is Rick and Morty considered adult? Have you watched any of them?
I haven't, but I think my kids watch it. So
yeah, Rick and Morty, Bob's Burgers. They're adult cartoons.
I love Bob's Burgers.
They're developing a block for Hulu, and it was going to involve several shows, and two of them, which were kind of arguably the most high-profile ones, were a Howard the Duck show. And then a show called Tigra and Dazzler, who are two sort of like ancillary X-Men characters. I'm not as familiar with Tigra, but Dazzler is like her power is that she can like manipulate sound. She's like a pop star, and she can like make sound reverberate.
Well, yeah, Dazzler. She was in the cartoons way back in the day.
Yeah.
She sucked.
I have a friend who would highly disagree with that. But
I mean, it's just like, didn't she just like throw up fireworks?
Yeah, pretty much.
How's that fire?
How's that a power?
It's
boom.
If you the X-Men comics really aren't about their powers; they're about them as people.
It's the
but
story.
But we need some fireworks. Who can we get?
Oh my God!
No, I'm serious. I want to know.
Them.
Dazzler is a superhero.
Well, not really. She's a member of the school for extraordinary children
to train you to be a superhero.
No,
they don't train you to be superheroes.
It's not. You're not supposed to be trained. It's not trained to be superheroes. It's just train. It's basically in the X-Men world. There are these certain percentage of the population that have mutant powers. It's all an allegory for racism and segregation, and so the larger population sort of is scared of and hates these people, and so people will like give up their children for adoption whenever they find out that they have mutant powers, or some kids will like gang up and like kill a kid if he has powers, and they're like treated as freaks and outcasts. So Professor Xavier starts this school to basically take in any mutant who has sort of been cast out by society and give them a place where they can be educated and learn how to hone their powers. They're not being trained to be superheroes. The X-Men are just a thing that functions within the infrastructure of the school. But the kids aren't necessarily supposed to be superheroes. So the X-Men books, while obviously an aspect of it is they're fighting supervillains and they're heroes, it's really less about that. It's more about these people sort of struggling with being like outcasts in a society that doesn't accept them. So, somebody like Dazzler, she doesn't have like really super useful powers, but that's kind of the point of it, is that like not everybody who's born a mutant has a useful power that makes them powerful or strong against anybody. Some of them just have weird little quirks that are just sort of like almost like parlor tricks.
Well, I'm glad I know that now, because it's very interesting, because I always thought they were superheroes. My take is, who wouldn't like Dazzler then? Who's going to shun someone who does fireworks all the time? Wouldn't she be like the most popular kid in
what
school?
would you do if you saw some girl just shoot fireworks out of her mouth?
I'd be like, hey, want to get some coffee?
Want to get some coffee?
Yeah.
Are you trying to put out my fireworks?
I mean,
Mad loud.
I mean, just like, hey, I'd like to get to know you. Can we go for a walk?
But
And
at
can you
any
shoot out
rate,
some fireworks.
Howard the Duck and Tigra and Dazzler animated shows were being developed for Hulu, and they've both been canceled. Completely full stop.
Is it Tigra and Dazzler one
That's
show?
one show, like a
That
team
is
up
one
show.
show. Okay.
So those shows got canceled. Marvel said that they have no plans for those characters at this time.
Is Howard the Duck?
Dumb, yes.
Do people like
Howard the
Howard
Duck is
the
not
Okay, people like Howard the Duck the comic. Obviously, the movie was like a debacle. And or are people now going, oh, that movie, it's ironically fun, and the comic book is good?
I mean, I think there's probably not a whole lot of people who know the comic book to like it. I think
They just know the movie.
People like Howard the Duck. The movie itself was kind of like regarded as both a bad movie in general, but also definitely a bad adaptation of the comic.
Okay.
And I think most people probably only know Howard the Duck from the movie. So,
Yes.
and they don't even know it's like a comic character or let alone a Marvel character.
Yeah, I
so
didn't.
to a lot of people, it's probably like, what the fuck? Like Howard the Duck?
Yeah.
That we're making a show of that? Just thinking that it's just that weird movie from the 80s where fucking
Leah Thompson
fucks a duck.
Almost fucks
in
a duck.
Cleveland.
Where that shit happens all the time.
Oh my
was it?
God!
Somebody was
so
talking
much
on a
duck
podcast.
fucking in Cleveland. It's crazy.
Kevin Smith was talking about
secrets.
Cleveland or some Ohio.
better be
Eddie-
nice about it.
Well, he said it's the swingers capital of the world.
Ooh.
That's not. He's just talking shit.
Someplace in Ohio.
yeah.
I actually loved Howard the Duck when I was a kid.
The movie?
Yeah, I liked it.
Do you like the song? Howard the Duck.
That's
all I remember.
It is I love you apart.
Wow.
He said Howard. I loved that.
Duck.
Loved
So
it.
strange. I like the premise.
Fucking Jeffrey Jones as some weird fucked up alien guy that's trying to kill him. We talked about it on a previous episode. He's a pedophile. That was why.
Jeffrey Jones?
Yeah, he's the dad in Beetlejuice, the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh,
and he's a
I
pedophile.
just
Watch
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
like for the first time.
Really?
So that's canceled, and then also there was a He-Man movie that was being developed by Sony. Master of the Universe. It was slated to hit theaters in March of 2021, and now that has been completely removed from Sony's release calendar.
Damn.
So in ostensibly it's been canceled as well.
I wonder, these don't feel necessarily like there's reboot fatigue so much as like
realizing
bad
they're bad
timing for
ideas.
all of them, maybe. I don't feel like people are like, we need to put a pause on reboot. It just feels like these circumstances, they're kind of freak happenings that they'll continue with reboots.
Maybe, but the thing that I thought about this is like some of these things were like slated to come out in like 2-3 years, 2021, 2022. And the thing I thought about that is like, these people have based on this whole thing just comes from the MCU. All of this stuff is satellites around the fact that the MCU became such a huge popular thing that sort of dominates our pop culture landscape. And the thing and so all these things are getting put into production. So these things are being developed, and some of them are not coming out for several years. And the thing that occurs to me about this is like people put these things into production with the idea of like either we're starting this streaming service and we want to get this content made for it, or we want to make this movie to compete with this landscape where the MCU movies are super popular and dominate. But is that going to be the case in 2 years? Like, it just seems like once the Howard the Duck cartoon was made and it comes out in 2021, there could be a whole different landscape by then. Like by then, for all we know, people just don't give a fuck about Marvel shit anymore, and like the MCU has totally died. And I see you shaking your head, but I think that it's totally possible because it happens all the time. It was only 5-6 short years ago where everything was zombies and like zombies and vampires. And now nobody gives a fuck about zombies and vampires anymore.
Marvel's doing
a different wave.
Zombies What If episode.
Yeah, but that's what
It's just one
it's a different wave. I mean, we're talking about Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man for 12 years and then people begging for him to come back. We haven't had enough. People have not had enough. It's clear that it's not going to die anytime soon. The biggest movie of all time came out last year, and it was a Marvel movie. I mean, if you're just looking at trends, like, nah. And then they put out their plans for the next 5-6 years, and everyone is like, yay, you know. And this is post the superheroes that we're all familiar with from these first, what do they call them? First 3 phases or whatever. This is the new guys, and everyone is still excited about it. There's no way that trend is dying in 2 years, 1 year. No way.
Mark my words.
2021.
I genuinely, I talked about this at the time, and I genuinely believe that, you know how whenever you use a weird example, but in the David Fincher Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie, probably 2/3 of the way through the movie is sort of the resolution to the main plot of catching the killer. So Lisbeth Salander or does the Daniel Craig character get captured by him? But I think Daniel Craig gets captured by the killer, played by Stellan Skarsgård. And then she comes and she saves him, and then they catch the guy. And it's like the end of the movie, but the way that David Fincher structured it, there's like 30 more minutes of movie, and it's all about like the coda of the epilogue where like she goes back to the United States, and then like she goes to like see Daniel Craig, and there's like a budding romance, but then she looks through his window and sees that he's with a different woman, and then she's like, I'll never open myself up and be vulnerable to a man again, and rides off into the sunset on a motorcycle. And it's like 30 more minutes. But when you're watching the movie, after the killer gets killed, you're just like, I don't care about any of this. I'm done. The movie's over.
Let me ask you this, because that's the same thing that I experienced when I watched Room. How many people?
We can't even be on the same fundamental plane of discussion, because that is I so thoroughly disagree with that. You're saying that
I didn't tell you what you agree with. I tell you what I agree, what I felt.
No, but I'm saying that like you're saying that that's the same, and I don't think that at all.
Right.
The interesting part of the movie was whenever the dealing of the fallout of once they rescue her from the kidnapper, and then that was the most compelling part of the movie.
What are you guys talking about?
Either way,
what's all this have to do with Marvel?
Watch.
Okay,
so he's essentially saying that Marvel is at that point right now where they're going on 30 extra minutes of film.
Oh, okay.
And how many people you think got up and left saying like, well, the killer's dead and I don't care about any of this stuff? How many people you think got up and left?
None, but that's different because to get up and leave, to sit there and watch the rest of the movie, number one, you've already committed to paying the money, so you sort of need to get your money's worth or feel like you've gotten your money's worth. Sitting there and just watching the rest of the movie is an act of inertia. You don't have to do anything. You just sit there and watch it. Even if you're bored or you don't care anymore, you're just kind of sitting there. In this situation, you have to go to the theater and you have to pay to see the movie, or you have to pay for Disney Plus or whatever. You have to do things. It's a different situation because you can't just passively go to the theater and pay and watch more Marvel movies.
I say that because people are so invested into these characters. They're invested into the world of Marvel. They're invested. Think about it. Growing up, we didn't like Iron Man. That was the dude that if you liked comics, maybe you knew about him, and if you did hear about him, you weren't. Yeah, people like Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman. That was about it. And then they created this thing that people got extremely invested into, and they're not going to just drop off like, oh, well, That's it. Like if they were able to create that interest in the first place, and people are getting these characters tattooed onto their bodies, they're gonna sit and watch.
But that's exactly my point though, because what I'm saying and what I was talking about with that like last 30 minutes of the movie thing is that yes, people have become super invested in these characters and they've become massively popular and people love them to the point where they're tattooing them on their bodies. And certainly those diehard fans are still going to, I mean, somebody who's like loved Iron Man since they were fucking a kid reading the comics is never going to not want to see Iron Man movies or whatever. But the general population at large, the reason why these movies dominate and are the most popular high earning movies in the world, I genuinely believe, and I had this theory whenever I saw it and I talked about it, that like as much as people are invested in these characters, in-game so thoroughly resolved and ended that story. Because yes, these people have been writing hard for these movies and going to see them for the past 12 years, but also for the past 12 years, they've been threading the needle of this overarching plot line where it's like, what's going to happen? Thanos is out there. He's making his master plan. It's all building to this. Throughout every movie, you have this one through line throughout every one of them that this is all building to a final showdown with Thanos. And now that's done. And so I truly believe that as much as there will be that last little 30 minutes of like people are excited because they want to see whatever the next Black Panther movie or whatever things are coming down the pipeline, they're just, I don't think that people have the emotional capacity to reinvest in another 12-year story arc playing out in the way that they did for Thanos, and that just so thoroughly resolved that I do think that there's going to be a exponential drop over the next 5 years of interest and popularity in the Marvel movies.
Do you think, I have two questions for you before we wrap this up. Do you think that the last Spider-Man movie that came out was affected by the end of Endgame as far as in a negative way?
What do you mean? I mean, it certainly was affected by it. The whole movie was impacted by the end of Endgame because it was all about.
The result of Endgame coming out, wrapping up the whole story, and then they immediately put out Spider-Man, which was a result of that story ending. Do you think that Endgame negatively affected the performance of Spider-Man?
Wasn't that a hit?
Yeah, made $1 billion.
That's why I say that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is like that's the wind down. Like I'm not saying that immediately after walking out of Endgame, people didn't give a fuck anymore. But I do not think that there's another 12 years of box office domination for the MCU.
And here's my second point that I was going to make. The schedule of movies have been the same for the past 30 years. Once March comes about, everything started exploding until the end of August. People are used to this format. They're used to it now. And then now we have an entire generation who grew up for 12 years on the same type of thing. To me, it's like, okay, Marvel just perfected the Michael Bay-ness of things. You know, once summer came around, you expect cars to drive fast. You expect things to blow up. And now once summer comes around, you expect somebody to have a cape on. It's just a part of culture now.
I think if they would have waited 3 more months to release the Spider-Man movie, it wouldn't have done as well. I think they were riding the high off the Endgame, and I think Andrew's theory would like kind of kick in if they waited a little longer and let it die down a little bit, let people process Tony's death, and then when they brought Spider-Man back for Far From Home, people would. I think they'd be less interested in the story. I think if they didn't have it fresh in their minds, going, we just saw him die, and we're now seeing the ramifications of it, I don't think people would be that interested.
Remember when everybody cared about Bane?
I still care about Bane, and I scrolled past.
Who cares about Bane anymore?
Bane, the Batman character?
The Batman character, yeah.
What are you
saying? He was
When I was a boy, the superhero movie was all I knew. You adopted the superhero movie.
Yeah.
By the time I was a man, it was only a franchise.
I just want you to do this for every podcast now.
I've been waiting for the amount of water in my water bottle to get low enough that I could do this. I discovered the other night that I could do a perfect Bane with this water bottle.
check the comments for how not perfect
You
that
sound
Bane
like
is.
Bane and Austin Powers.
I'm not talking about my actual impression. I'm talking about the sound of being the sound that the Bane voice has. I'm not talking about my impression, which I think is still pretty good. But
I do too, but there's everybody in the
I'm
comments.
talking about the
Fair to Midland.
the effect, the metallic effect.
Yes.
Word.
Heard.
It sounds so similar that I actually wonder if maybe this is how they actually recorded the voice.
You wanna hear my Bane?
No,
Can you say "Oh, behave" with that in your?
that does not sound like
You sound
Austin
like Austin Powers.
No, that is insane. This sounds nothing
That
like
is
Austin
insane.
Powers.
Just go "Oh, behave" once.
This guy.
Oh, behave.
Exactly the
That does
same.
not sound like Austin
Yo,
Powers.
go
you saw a bootleg Indian knockoff Austin Powers.
Go
you agree
to
that you
Andrew's
sound-
Twitter. Everybody listening, go to Andrew's Twitter and just tweet him and just say, "Oh, behave." Please.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody listening. What's your
at
Twitter?
Robots
I'm
and Comedy.
Why would I
Robots
tell
and
them
Comedy.
my Twitter?
Go to
Oh no, I just doxed him. Todd, you gotta cut. You gotta cut that out.
No,
N
no
or
cutting.
A-N-D.
No
No, Robots and Comedy. Just go write them. Oh, behave.
Stop saying it. Sorry.
There's a reboot of Bambi in the works for Disney, or actually, no, we don't know if it's for Disney Plus or the theaters, but they're rebooting Bambi, a quote unquote live action reboot, because it's not actually live action. Lion King, the live action Lion King,
It's all CG.
all of the fucking landscape is CG. The characters are all CG. That's a fucking animated movie.
Yeah,
but it looks photorealistic.
Yeah, I guess what else do they call it? They don't want to call it animated, so they
Yeah.
need a better name for this. But yeah,
Photorealistic.
boom.
But they're doing this for Bambi, and it's being written by the Captain Marvel writers.
You know what? It doesn't matter how well they write the movie. You can't, with that technology that they made Lion King on, those animals had no faces, no facial expressions.
Yeah.
So when you see Bambi die and ain't nobody sad,
Bambi
I'ma be
dies?
Yeah, you better believe
Spoilers.
it. He gets shot in the face.
I don't think you've seen Bambi.
All right. When Bambi dies and ain't nobody care, we're gonna be sitting in the theater like, all right, just put Beyonce.
Bambi
in
doesn't
this.
die.
I know Bambi's mother dies.
Jesus
I get it. When Bambi's mother dies and nobody cares in the movie, in the theaters, we're not gonna care either, and we're just gonna say put Beyonce in it. Just throw Beyonce in there.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, is there going to be? Are they going to put music in it? and
No,
stuff?
do not.
no, because there was no music in
I know,
Bambi.
but I just thought maybe.
But there was music in Mulan, and I'm still salty.
Dang, who's another superstar they could put in there?
Childish Gambino.
Justin Timberlake.
Don't do that.
Justin
Justin Timberlake,
Timberlake.
nah, he just cheated.
Oh, as Thumper.
he did not.
Did he?
He held somebody's hand.
Oh my God. You're the
That's
worst.
fake news.
Yeah.
He's still
but do we
sleeping on the couch.
Does
Anyways,
anybody care about seeing a new Bambi?
Oh,
Like
might
seriously,
be
Tons of
interesting
people do.
because you know the cheat code in Hollywood. If it did well 30 years ago, they need to redo it.
and
for
I
this
understand
generation.
that, but also I'm like,
That's why they've been trying to get Leo to
Bambi?
do that cocaine movie.
Bambi was old when I was a kid. So
People love Bambi.
So-
they can just see Bambi as is.
But I mean, the reboots of Aladdin
business,
and
baby.
Lion King prove that you're in the minority on that because they made so much money.
And I think Lion King made a
it's
ton
not
of
about
money.
money.
Bambi-
You just turned into Kelby right there.
Bambi, but it's
I
shot.
mean, these are. I don't feel this way. This is the reality of the world.
Yeah,
Let's see how much.
I have no interest in seeing a Bambi reboot.
I won't be seeing it.
Bambi, but it's
Unless
shot
they
like-
use Prince's song Bambi in it, then I'm here for it.
It's secretly just a biopic of Prince.
Of that one
biopic.
song.
Lion King made $1.65 billion. They about to make 3 Bambis.
Would you be interested if it was
That's
shot?
a lot of grub.
Never mind.
That's a lot of money.
Slimy yet satisfying. Watching the Lion King now is just it makes me laugh out loud to hear the transition from Jonathan Taylor Thomas talking at the beginning of the movie to going into I Just Can't Wait to Be King, the first song, just like JTT talking, and then just going into like black kids singing. It's just it's hilarious.
That's not JTT singing?
No,
It's Jason Weaver.
Just kidding, guys.
it's so funny. It makes me laugh out loud. There's also a Pinocchio remake.
Live action?
Same thing.
That'd be cool.
This one, I mean, I still don't care, but also this one's more interesting to me because it's being directed and co-written by my man Robert Zemeckis, one of my favorite directors of all time.
The guy who did Flight?
Yes, but that's, I mean,
Back to the Future.
He directed Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
And Flight.
It was
Flight's
the guy with
Flight's
the
a good
eyes.
movie.
Flight's a good movie.
I liked Flight, sort of.
Flight's great.
I enjoyed Flight.
And so they're doing the Pinocchio movie. Robert Zemeckis is directing it. For a while, it was going to be directed by the Paddington and Paddington 2 director Paul King, but now it's being done by Zemeckis.
Quiet as kept. I heard Paddington's pretty hard.
And
Paddington 2 is my shit.
people love those Paddington movies.
And they're,
dude,
I
they really
mean,
do.
like
Really
no
well.
joke, they're huge in England.
They seem really
Like they
cute.
were big fucking hits in
There
England.
was only 3
fucking
million
loved
people
them.
in England.
I mean, I love Paddington, the original,
The books.
not even the books necessarily, but the 1980s stop motion show.
Oh yeah.
I fucking love that.
It was stop motion?
I didn't know that.
But I didn't see these movies.
Pinocchio shot like a scanner darkly. Just throwing it out there.
He thinks
Rotoscoped?
he thinks
Is that
we
what it
like
is?
own a
Yeah.
company.
That would be better than just watching.
If
a
Tyler owned a
random-
company, he'd be in prison in a day. he'd be the fastest arrested CEO in history.
Man defrauds company, gives money to everyone in the company, goes to jail.
Word. For some reason, I feel like that movie's never gonna come out. Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I think it'll come out.
You think so?
Talking about Tom Hanks playing Geppetto,
That's not
really?
confirmed though.
but they're talking about that. You don't
Yeah. You see, it's
you don't
the
you
talk.
don't throw a name like T Hanks out there and then not follow through with it.
I mean, if it is T. Hanks, then
We're gonna just call
guess
him
him.
Tom.
Guess again.
We're just gonna call
Can we
him
call him Tommy H.
Tommy.
I mean, I'd rather
Hanksy.
I'd rather them
his
take a little
artist
bit out
name.
of the Italian Pinocchio and make Roberto Benigni play Geppetto. It's an actual Italian guy, and you'd be old enough to really play
be
Geppetto.
cool.
That actually happened.
Yeah, I'm saying that they should just reuse that
Reuse
from
that.
the Italian Pinocchio movie.
Just do the whole Sonic the Hedgehog thing and have him do it, and then put a live action Sonic the Hedgehog in there.
what?
I understand what he's saying.
I just meant.
You're the only one.
So
for once, I
a couple
get it.
episodes ago, during my "We Didn't Start the Fire" recap,
Real good.
which got us fucking flagged on YouTube,
The what?
You were too good. The
Wow.
song
Yeah.
he did to recap
they're
the
like,
week we
"This,
were gone.
this is
damn.
the Billy Joel song."
Yeah.
That's why.
Wow.
I said that
Beef YouTube.
it was announced that the Mighty Ducks reboot show for Disney Plus was going to be about like a single mom whose son gets kicked off of the Mighty Ducks like little league or whatever you call the little league version of hockey team. So she like
Junior hockey or
forms her own team.
Yep.
And I said that Emilio Estevez was not going to be in it, but that has changed. So Emilio Estevez is confirmed to be in a lead role for the show. He's coming back to play Coach Bombay. The plot of the movie is loosely that her son gets kicked off the team, so she wants to start her own team for kind of like the misfit people, and then she looks for a coach, and she gets Coach Bombay. My response to this is, in a new day, a new age, that's so wildly irresponsible to get that guy to be the coach of your team, because the reason why he was the coach in the first place is because he was doing community service for a DUI.
Really?
Different times.
I don't remember my
Different time.
There's no way I'm hiring that guy to have any sort of oversight of my children.
Maybe he's reformed.
I don't care. I'm not taking that risk.
If it was Emilio, you'd take that risk. But that charm,
I don't see the.
If it was Emilio, Emilio's record is fucking clean.
true.
He's
his brother,
immaculate. Yeah.
his brother's got the problem. Here's the thing. I've never seen Mighty Ducks because that's just, I was already too old for it. But
that's why.
never.
You're never too old to be inspired.
No,
Kirk.
man. But the fact that Emilio is going to do this makes me go, I'm here for it.
Really?
Because Emilio was part of my childhood.
What do you know him from?
Breakfast Club, Repo Man. That was then, this is now.
Young Guns.
Young Guns
Guns
2.
Gotcha.
St. Elmo's
I can make
Fire.
you famous.
Men at Work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
Love Men at Work.
Men at Work's good. So,
Charlie Sheen and Emilio
Yep.
together?
oh, making magic. So he's a part of my childhood. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to support my man.
Maybe he could play
No,
Bane.
man. Oh my gosh.
I mean, wait, you mean Austin Powers?
That doesn't... I'm not saying that my Bane impression is great, but it does not sound like Austin Powers. That is crazy.
I'm saying that you're inches away from going, oh, behave, and me going, spot on.
Also, secondarily, I am saying that my Bane impression is spot on because it's great.
Okay.
So this is kind of an interesting story because it is just a reboot story, but it also has like a really interesting detail. So in the 50s, namely 1951, there was a movie that came out called The Thing from Another World. And it was an old creature feature science fiction B movie. It was based on a novella called Who Goes There that was written by John W. Campbell Jr. And it was published in 1938. And it's basically, the story is about this expedition team in the South Pole who some alien parasite thing gets into their lab and sort of terrorizes them. And the 50s movie is just a total creature feature. And then in the 80s, John Carpenter readapted the novella to make John Carpenter's The Thing, which is, the movie is about this exposition team in this laboratory. And then a dog appears, and the dog is infected by this alien parasite that can sort of take you on as a host, and you can look like yourself, but you're actually an alien. And so it's this sort of like slow picking off one by one of each member of this team, and they're not sure who's who or who's the alien and who's not.
Great movie.
And it's a great movie.
Great Kurt Russell.
Great ending.
Kurt Russell.
So good.
Fucking
Adrian oh, wait, no, she's in Escape from New York.
yeah, no. I have diabetes.
Rupert Brimley? Oh, no.
Wilford Brimley.
Wilford.
Yeah,
Wilford.
Wilford Brimley is in it. And I'm blanking on the other guy's name too.
Scott Glenn in it?
Kurt Russell?
Fuck is his?
No, Kurt
we
Russell
already
is
said
in it.
Kurt
Kurt Russell's the
Russell.
lead, and he's fantastic in
He's
it.
amazing.
I'm not even a big sci-fi fan,
Is-
and that movie's great.
Has the ending been confirmed that the other guy is the monster thing?
No,
No,
they don't confirm these things.
Well, I thought he came out and said that. Yeah, that's what the.
Oh, Keith David.
Keith
That's I blanked on his name. But
David.
Keith David is great in it.
He's great.
So they made that movie, and it's all based on this novella. It's like really short book. But so recently, they discovered that there's actually a full novel-length version of this book, and that it was cut down like over half to be published. But there's a full book that the manuscript was discovered that completely expands the story and goes way back further into the backstory of the alien. Ooh. So now Universal and Blumhouse are doing a reboot of The Thing, but based on this new expanded manuscript for the book. So it's going to be a remake of The Thing, probably more leaning towards being a remake of John Carpenter's The Thing, but it's going to be much more delving into the backstory of the alien and using this full, never before published manuscript as the source material. Which I think is really fascinating.
I'm here for that.
I'm definitely here for that.
Well, I probably won't see it because it's sci-fi, but I love the fact that they're not just rebooting The Thing. They're actually taking other source material and kind of putting it together and making it different. Mm-hmm. Also, because if Kurt Russell's not going to be in it, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because the Crustle is amazing.
Yeah. Did you say Crussel?
Yeah, the Crustle.
You know, Crustle eating cronuts.
Yeah. Crustle eating cronuts. It's his best podcast, man. It's just Kurt Russell eating cronuts going, hey, this is Kurt Russell today on Crustle eating cronuts. I'm going to eat a chocolate cronut.
It's an ASMR.
He's a good
cronut.
All right, see you next week. But I mean,
reminds me of that time I was on set of Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, and back then we just had the donuts.
Yeah, we didn't have it
ate,
together.
We were eating donuts, but yeah, I like this cronut.
The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes has a scene where he locks himself in a bathroom and Kurt Russell has to. Huh? Still,
it was a different time back then. Disney wasn't the kid-friendly thing that we know today.
I think I remember that movie though. That's a
okay
oldie.
I mean, but I think it's a good idea.
Maybe you know of the remake with Kirk Cameron.
When was
your
the remake?
favorite?
Like 2000s?
Late 90s.
You celebrate his entire catalog.
You make it sound like I don't like him.
Is it Kurt Russell and Starman?
No, that's Jeff Bridges.
God damn it! I get Kurt Russell, Jeff Bridges, and Chris Christopherson mixed up.
Not all white guys look the
yeah,
freaking same.
Not all white guys.
You're fucking wrong.
No, we do.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. It reminds me of Dark Horse published a comic that was an adaptation of the original first script for Star Wars. So
wait, say that again. What happened?
There was a comic adaptation using the original script for Star Wars as source material. George Lucas wrote Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it was completely different.
And so they took that made an
like the main character was named Anakin Starkiller. Anakin Starkiller was the main character. Han Solo was an alien. He was like this weird like ape-like.
I had no idea.
Alien monster guy. And the whole story is completely different. They majorly rewrote it to make the movie, and but Dark Horse did a comic based on the script, so it's like an alternate universe version of Star Wars.
That actually sounds fascinating.
That does sound cool. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if there's a way to look it up, please. But I heard rumors when it was coming out that George Lucas heavily relied on the original source material for Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets to write the Star Wars universe out.
I mean, among other things.
Okay.
Star Wars was heavily based on old science fiction serials from the 20s through the 40s, and then samurai movies.
Gotcha.
So it's just like Star Wars. It's just a mashup of Flash Gordon and Seven Samurai.
So samurai movies and space opera equals spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love it.
That's exactly what it is.
That's cool.
Spaghetti westerns are just samurai movies. Like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was basically a remake of. It's not Seven Samurai. It's not Rashomon. What is the other most high profile Akira Kurosawa movie? And I'm just blanking on its name.
Those are the only two that I know.
There are people listening that are just like, fucking this.
Yeah, they're like,
Yojimbo. Yes. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is a remake of Yojimbo.
Gotcha, okay.
Which is a samurai film directed by Akira Kurosawa. Okay. Magnificent Seven is a remake of Seven Samurai. But yes, Star Wars is just it's Flash Gordon and Seven Samurai mixed together.
Sick.
They are two Transformers reboots are simultaneously in development. Or not reboot. One of them is not a reboot. So they are developing a sequel to Bumblebee, and they are simultaneously developing a reboot of the Michael Bay
Shia LaBeouf
movies, and it's based on Beast Wars.
That's exciting.
So they're making it.
Mark. Who do you think will be in it? Mark or?
Well, it's neither of them. It's going to be a completely new thing.
It's a reboot.
But it's going to be this. They're making a Beast Wars movie in addition to a sequel to Bumblebee simultaneously.
Bumblebee was a big hit.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't a big hit.
It wasn't a big hit.
Why are they making a sequel to it?
Just because,
they got Haley Steinfeld for another contract. Probably.
It was a slow crawling hit. Like
sometimes movie studios give a little bit more leniency to movies if they have like faith in them. Mm-hmm. I think Bumblebee didn't do well financially, but it was like I haven't seen it, so I don't even.
It's pretty good.
This is not my opinion, but from what I've heard, it was like a very good. It was way better than the Michael Bay movies. But it just kind of like sort of fell off the radar somehow. And
there was another big release the same time.
Yeah.
There was something else that came along that same like week or 2 weeks.
Star Trek? No, that's
I don't remember what it was, but I did go watch it in theaters. It's very, very different for sure than the Michael Bay one. And it seemed like their target audience was an older crowd. Because the movie is very 80s, so you can tell that they were trying to reach 80s babies or 70s babies, 80s kids, so it was good, but it didn't even break 500 million, and they had like $130 something million budget, which means like 250 something like that. So
I feel so sorry for that dude, the guy who directed it. I don't remember his name, but he was his first live action directing gig.
Oh, because he's like a cartoon guy?
Before that, he was a stop motion animator who worked on all the Leica films. So like Coraline and Paranorman and Kubo and the Two Strings and The Missing Link. And I just feel so sorry for that dude because like Leica, the movies that they make are amazing. Like Paranorman is one of my favorite animated movies ever. Coraline did very well, but Coraline is great. The Box Trolls is great. I haven't seen The Missing Link yet, but I want to. Kubo and the Two Strings was great, but like they always bomb. Like that studio just cannot catch a break. They made Coraline. It was pretty successful. And on the strength of that, they've went on and developed more features, and they never do well. But they're so great though. And then this guy, he's like, he leapfrogs up to doing a big, not only a huge fucking IP, but also a live action movie, and it doesn't do well. I feel sorry for that.
It wasn't a bomb. I think they probably just made a very small profit.
Are you talking about the original Shia LaBeouf one, or
no, Bumblebee.
Gotcha.
It made it made a little bit of money. But I will say I think they should bring him back, because if you really think about it, Bumblebee made the money it made because it was a good movie. Like their original, the first week or the second week, they didn't make very much. I don't even think they broke even, which is odd for those kind of movies. And it was off the strength of it being a quote unquote good movie that week, the following weeks, it did what it did. So if they decide like, oh, well, this guy just can't make a hit, and then they bring somebody else who probably is going to go in the direction of the Michael Bay ones that make all this money, but they're never that great, that might diminish the value of that brand. So I think they should bring it back.
Yeah.
And spend some more money marketing the thing. Yeah. And don't come out whatever came out. Was it Star Wars or something came out the same week, and it got buried. And
I definitely be interested in seeing a Beast Wars movie, because Beast Wars is great. I don't have to spend too much on this, but this is a quick update for a previous story we talked about. So we talked about a while back that they were developing a Lethal Weapon 5, and we kind of speculated on like what that would be like. This makes me mad. This is kind of crazy. There's 3 pieces of information. Mm-hmm. 2 of them are very expected and not really out of the ordinary, and one of them is so strange. So Danny Glover and Mel Gibson are confirmed to be returning as Riggs and Murtaugh, which is like, that's probably
sure.
That is a thing that happened. But you know what? You want to know who's directing Lethal Weapon 5?
Wait, let me take a guess. Chris Rock?
That's exactly.
That'd be really cool. I'd be okay.
I know because I read the outline.
Yeah, but I don't know who he is.
Richard Donner.
I mean,
Richard Donner is directing Lethal Weapon 5. Richard Donner, first of all, I hate you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For not knowing who that is.
He directed the originals.
He directed Superman. The Superman movies.
Which one?
Which ones?
The original.
The original ones.
Christopher Reeves movies.
Got it. Okay.
But he directed all of the first 4 Lethal Weapon movies. But he's 90 years old.
90.
You know why this makes sense? Clearly, they're going in the Captain America way. You remember how in Captain America, it's a story about the 20s? It looks like it. It was shot kind of like it. I think they're going in that direction where they get a 90-year-old guy who made action-style movies back in the day, and he's going to bring that taste in for these old guys in an old guy movie. That's my take. I think that's why they did that.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like they could have gotten a slightly younger person that maybe isn't that was around back then.
I just
not ageism, but just like, can a 90-year-old man
they've been
physically do that?
I mean,
job?
doing a shoot is I don't want any of this. I don't want any of this.
I do want the line. He's finally retiring. I'm just the right age for this shit.
I'm finally the right age for this shit.
You think they're gonna say that in the next Bad Boys?
In the Bad Boys,
it just makes me mad. I just don't want
time to be good men.
Okay, I'm kind of here.
3 and 4 weren't even that. 1st and 2 are iconic. Great
Is
movies.
this gonna follow the TV shows continuity?
No.
Oh my god, the TV show is just a cash grab.
But I want him on a time travel
though.
mission.
Fuck
Fuck
it was good.
Just go all out. If you're gonna make 5 of them, just go fucking full Jason X.
How old
Send
is
him into space.
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover's.
He's I have it's written down here somewhere.
He's got to be in his late 70s, 80s.
I'm gonna say 82,
Mel Gibson's easily in his 60s.
67.
Yeah, I must not have copied it, but yeah, it was.
Because when I saw
he's
him
in his
Jumanji,
somewhere in the
that boy
60s and 70s.
Old.
He's pretty old. In the beginning of the first Lethal Weapon they sort of establish
73.
Mel Gibson, the way that they establish Riggs' character and like his sort of like tortured soul is that like he's in his trailer and it sort of has this the picture of I think he's holding the picture
of his wife.
Yeah. And then he like puts a gun to his head and then he like tries to psych himself up and then he doesn't do it. In the original draft of Lethal Weapon, which I read because I'm just a huge Shane Black fan and I've read a bunch of his different iterations of scripts. In the very first draft of Lethal Weapon, the way that they established Riggs is that he's walking down the beach and he sees like 5 guys in a circle just kicking a dog. And he walks up to them because, like in the movie, in the movie, he's like an animal lover. It's kind of touched on in the movie, but in this script, it's like a thing. So he's walking down the beach, and these guys are just standing in a circle, just kicking a dog. And then he walks up, and then he's like, you know, what do you got? What's going on here? And they're like, get the fuck away from us. And then like he does like a Three Stooges style routine of beating them all up, which he does in Lethal Weapon. He does it in
Lethal Weapon for the cocaine thing.
But like in this, it's the way that starts the movie is that he basically just like single-handedly beats up 5 guys, but in this elaborate like Three Stooges routine. And then he takes the dog and then adopts it, and that's
because he does have a dog.
Yeah, and then that was sort of like the origin of that. But that's how the Lethal Weapon was originally going to start.
Crazy.
They should repurpose that, make it how Turner and Hooch.
You might be the only one, or maybe Andrew might know this movie, but there's a movie where Robert Downey Jr. I'm stupid. Robert De Niro plays a filmmaker who's like kind of down on his luck a little bit, and he makes this crappy movie. And he screens it, and in the movie they shoot a dog.
What is that?
It's not Mistress.
And then he's reading the reviews.
Meet the Fockers.
No. They're reading the reviews of like what people said in the screening, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, how could you kill the dog?" No. And then there's the moment where somebody is like, "Loved when you killed the dog."
What like general time period is this from? And also, why are we talking about this?
It reminds me of that.
Oh yeah,
scene.
the dog. Yes, of course.
I'll find it.
That does not ring any bell to me at all.
You put Robert Downey Jr.
All the Roberts are the same.
Yeah, 90-year-old man.
That's
insane.
I mean, on one hand, I'm like, well done, congratulations. Hope you can finish the movie.
All right, can you pull up a picture of this guy? I want to see how old he looks.
He looks like a grandpa. I mean, he's a great director and everything. I just don't want anything to do with this Lethal Weapon.
That's what he looks like at 90?
Oh, these are probably older pictures.
Oh, I mean, he looks good if that's him now, though. If he's anywhere close to looking like that, I believe that he could do this. He doesn't look like a 90-year-old.
None of these pictures look recent.
No, I think he hasn't directed since 2006.
Yeah.
So 14 years was his last movie.
I mean, even if they're posted in 2019, it's probably just people talking about the movie.
Gotcha. Well,
yeah, I don't know.
I imagine the Crypt Keeper when I think of somebody who's 90 years old.
No bones about it.
Hey, there's your Austin Powers.
You have impression blindness.
Doing Austin Powers.
Groovy, baby, yeah.
Borat?
That's Bane.
Oh, that's Bane.
Something broken in you. There's a Megaman movie in development with the writer of the new Batman movie. So this isn't the fact that they're making a Megaman movie isn't new news. The Megaman live-action movie is one step closer to becoming a reality. The Blue Bomber.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
The Blue Bomber himself. It's been revealed that Mattson Tomlin has been tapped to pen the screenplay for the upcoming video game adaptation. We first learned that Capcom is looking to turn one of their most popular characters into a movie franchise in October of 2018. Updates have been slow in the time since, but now it seems like things may be heading in the right direction. Buried within a report about Amazon's adaptation of the comic book Fear Agent, which Mattson, his name is Mattson Tomlin, his 2 last names, is involved with, it was revealed that he has also boarded the Megaman movie. Tomlin is largely an up-and-coming writer, but he did help pen the screenplay for Matt Reeves' The Batman, which is no small thing. Tomlin also has a movie titled Little Flash in post-production. Prior to that, Tomlin had worked on a series of shorts that he wrote and directed. Even though his mainstream experience seems somewhat limited on paper, he's managed to board some high-profile projects, which speaks to his talent level. Does it? I feel like usually the people that you see like just come out of nowhere and just suddenly get attached to things.
I just figured it
are like the least
Thank you.
talented. They're just like schmoozy flim flam people.
I guess we'll see. Every time I know the Mega Man property, but every time I hear it, I feel like, oh, that's a fake thing. Like there really is no Mega Man. It's like a spoof. But I know Mega Man is the name is weird to me.
Yeah,
It's such a like.
Well, it's
so generic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the reason for that is because in the actual original Japanese version of the game, he's Rockman, and all of the characters in Mega Man are music themed. So there's like Rockman, and then there's like another character is Bass, and they're all named after musical things.
Okay.
And but in whenever he was adapted to when the game was localized for the U.S., I forget the exact reason why. I think it might have just been that they thought that Rockman was a dumb name, or it didn't translate like that well. They changed it to Mega Man, so he's Mega Man here, but he's actually Rockman.
Which one is
What just happened? Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that tanked.
the Batman? Which one are they talking about?
The one that's being made.
Oh,
right
that's
now.
okay.
Robert Pattinson.
Gotcha. I was like, which one is the one with the nipples? Batman.
There's no movie that's ever been made that's been called The Batman.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
That's Batman or Batman Returns or no, those aren't the ones with the nipples. The ones with the nipples are the
Clooney.
Batman and Robin
Oh, Batman Forever.
and Batman. Well, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin both have the bat nipples.
Gotcha.
Because I'm just blanking on names today.
Joel Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher added the bat nipples.
He wanted some nips.
They're making this Mega Man movie, and I love me some Mega Man. Mega Man 2, one of the most iconic video games of all time. But
is Samus from the Mega Man world?
No.
Okay.
Metroid.
I know, but I mean, that's kind of the same power, isn't it? Kind of the same thing. Could Metroid be a level in the Mega Man cyberverse?
I guess technically, but they're not.
Okay.
I mean, they do crossover in Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, okay. Well.
But yeah, I don't really have much of an opinion on this. I don't really care necessarily to see a Mega Man movie. Mostly because video game movies are never good.
They should make it kind of goofy. Like what's the name of your boy? Ryan
Howard.
Nope.
Gosling.
Ryan Gosling.
Did you just make?
No.
Was that
Ryan
just a friend?
Howard's from The Office.
No, Ryan, your boy, he be talking fast. Deadpool.
Oh, Ryan
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. They need to make it kind of goofy Ryan Reynolds style, because if they don't, and it's like trying to be a serious movie, I'd pass.
Yeah,
it's almost like watching
They
a
should
spy
also
road.
get
Oh my
Bane
gosh.
in it.
And Austin Powers.
I'm also worried. I'm worried that because it's like
Groovy, baby. Yeah.
Somebody take that thing from me.
it's like a cyber thing. I'm worried that they're gonna go and fall into the same shit that Ready Player One did. It's just gonna be.
I heard that movie was good.
Ready Player One sucked.
Ready Player One was a piece of shit.
Terrible.
I've talked about this on the podcast.
For sure.
I think that's kind of what they're gonna do with it live action.
We'll see. I mean, it probably will have that sort of sardonic, postmodern thing to it, like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie clearly does. I can't see them making like a
That comes out like next
straightforward,
week.
serious Mega Man movie.
Right.
As much as in stark contrast to what you said, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love, because there's so much lore and story to the Mega Man franchise from all the games, especially like the Mega Man Legends and Battle Network games. They have like stories to them and stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to just see that done in like a really just like straightforward, unflinchingly serious way. I love when people commit to doing like really goofy things in like a really serious way.
You know what? I would watch it only because I'm expecting it to be kind of funny, to be kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah. I don't know. It's I don't understand why they would do a live action though, because when he goes into the cyber world, like it shouldn't be live action. It'll look.
They'll Wreck-It Ralph it.
That's what I hope. Like they go from a physical world to a cyber world would be better.
That'd be cool. We gotta stop giving them our $1 million ideas.
I know.
I think they are listening, because they were like, I was like, Emilio's not going to be in this. It fucking sucks, and they were like, get Emilio.
Wait a second.
Yeah, you were talking about
Nostalgicast said that they needed.
We named it Baby Yoda, and then
you were criticizing nostalgia-based remakes, and now they're all just fucking stopping.
They need the Baby Yoda.
Andrew has the
Okay.
power.
The world's named it Baby Yoda.
Well, what probably happened was Emilio Estevez was probably sitting on Twitter and was like, wait a second, dude, what is this? And then he called his brother and said, yo, can you call the studio?
Emilio Estevez is doing fine. Stop that.
Is he?
Yeah, he just
did an indie film.
He just did an indie film last year.
Fucking
With a big cast.
Yeah.
Emilio!
Don't
About
sleep on
200
Emilio.
people saw that movie.
Emilio was
It was a labor of love.
Emilio was
Is that the
fucking
name of
true
it?
to himself.
Yeah.
That's facts.
When his
That's
dad and his brother were like, "Oh, we're the Sheens," he was like, "Fuck that! I'm Emilio Estevez."
That's facts. You wanted the double E's.
Plus Repo Man. It's
Repo
better than
Man's
anything
great.
that Charlie Sheen's
Please.
ever done.
Which Repo Man are we talking about?
Yes, including Platoon. What? No, there's
What?
only
There's
one
only one
Repo
Repo
Man.
Man.
There's Repo Men and
Oh,
Repo the
Repo
Genetic
Men.
Opera. Those are not a thing.
There's also
Repo Man
Repo.
is what I'm thinking about. I'm sorry. What's Repo?
The movie with Michael Blackston.
Yeah, but this is Repo Man.
Educate y'all.
This is Repo Man.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's what's up.
There's the Crow reboot is back in development at Sony. So there was a Crow reboot in the 2018 that was being developed with Jason Momoa playing the Crow, and that was canceled unceremoniously. But now it's back. They're putting it back in. They've retooled it, and they're putting it back into production. No news on who's going to play the Crow or any really details, but we're apparently back to being able to get a Crow movie.
First
been
one was
long
great.
enough.
The Brandon Lee one, great movie. Sequel's hot garbage.
Can you call it if he was only in half of it?
A Brandon Lee movie?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, because he's top billed in it.
Yeah. Too soon, by the way.
Yeah, that's that's what I was going for.
Yeah, I mean that's the movie's crazy because like Tyler alluded to, he died not even halfway. He was around for most of the production.
Yeah,
he
they were
died
able to-
towards the end
yeah, it
of
was
the
towards the end
production,
of the shoot.
and they really had to just like fill in some gaps.
Yeah,
And
it
so
wasn't a
they
big
ended
deal.
up just completely restructuring the movie to be like just basically. I mean, on paper it's like very simplistic. It's like he gets killed and then
Yeah.
he just one by one goes to each person and kills them.
Yeah.
And all the parts where he wasn't able to be there because he died, they just shot like a body double, like
Yeah.
in the shadows.
Yeah, they had most of it done.
Did we know originally that Jason Momoa was going to play him? Did we know that when
Vaguely?
we talked about it?
I don't know if we talked about it on the pod.
We
but-
didn't talk about it on the podcast.
Oh, we haven't talked
'cause
about it
this,
on the pod?
This is from like this happened in 2018.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, okay,
You
but
weren't even born yet.
not emotionally.
Don't
I
do
was,
it. Oh
I
my
was
God.
born into the Crow reboot.
Yo, take that thing from him. Robots.
By
and
the
Comedy.
time you were a man,
Robots and comedy.
you adopted the Crow reboot.
They're not gonna be able to cut that.
But
out.
Jason
Robots and
Momoa
Comedy.
as the Crow would be ridiculous.
I
It's
feel it's ridiculous. He's too big.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
emo
I agree.
anthem
He's
movie. It's
too-
like
he's too big and broad.
you need to be lanky and
Yeah.
You got to be able to jump.
you got to be able to jump.
Yeah, Jason Momoa, 400 pounds of muscle. He can't jump.
You're shaming his jumping ability?
Nah, he's wrong for the role.
All right.
Gosh, sensitive Sallies.
Hawaiian men can't jump.
Whoa.
Yo, that's really racist. Robots and comedy.
Yeah, if you want to send a letter directly to Andrew's house, this is his address.
Oh shoot.
Last story. So Amasia Entertainment has secured the feature film rights to the Green Hornet. So they're going to do a Green Hornet reboot. Green Hornet started out as a radio adventure serial from the 1936. Had various other adaptations, and then there was a 2011 movie based on the Green Hornet that was starring Seth Rogen as the Green Hornet. And it was directed by Michel Gondry. A lot of people hated that movie. I liked it. I thought it was.
It's
I
good.
thought it was really good.
I don't hate it. Didn't it do quite poorly?
It did poorly. People didn't understand it.
Yeah.
It was like a weird comedy version of
Yes.
this character that nobody knows.
Nobody knows that. I mean, I didn't even know it. I knew that Bruce Lee was in it way back in the day, but I never saw it. And why are they doing a reboot of this? Why?
Well, maybe they'll go into like the Hornet Corps.
but it's not that
and
big of a
That
It's
property.
like Yellow Hornet and Red Hornet.
that's the Green Lantern.
That's just make a Green Lantern movie instead because the Green Hornet's not good.
but who?
That's not true at all. The Green Hornet is great. The Green Hornet was Batman before Batman. Green Hornet predates Batman. And he's great.
I don't know, but who's asking for this remake besides you?
Not a soul. Probably two people.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
nobody. It's just people. It's just people are. It's the.
They need a property
It's the
to buy.
rationing off of IP. It's like, what do we have?
Can I grab that? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll buy
but also
that.
the Green Hornet's like if Batman did all the work, but Robin had all the money and was like famous for it, because Kato does everything.
If you watch the show on, like, you can see the show clips on YouTube. That's what happens.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's
exactly.
why I think Green Hornet sucks, is because I don't know much about the comics, but the movie and the show shows Kato doing every single thing and the Green Hornet getting all the.
First of all, you've never watched the show.
I definitely
and
watched
second
the
of all,
show.
the movie that they played it up as a joke. Like the movie, the point of it was that they
Right.
made Seth Rogen's character kind of incompetent.
Yeah.
But that's
Because they had-
not really how the original serial was. Like he was like a genius detective.
Okay.
But again, I can't imagine anyone going, finally, they're going to do it right. Yeah. They're going to do this property justice. Thank God.
Nah, ain't nobody. It's going to fail again. Hey, let me ask you guys something right before we get out of here. I know we're at the very end. Did we talk about the David Schwimmer thing last week?
No.
Oh,
that's a good thing to end on because
what
I didn't necessarily want to end on the Green Hornet story. I just couldn't think of I couldn't find like a good ending thing.
What
That's
happened?
great. Though.
Yeah, because I have
say
an
what
interesting
happened.
thought. I'm gonna tell you. I have an interesting thought about it. So David Schwimmer was in an interview, don't know where, but they asked him about the diversity in the casting of Friends, and he was like, yeah, he's pretty aware that Friends didn't have a lot of diversity, so he was fighting for his character to date different types of women.
Yes.
So
And
it
he
was like he
did.
had an Asian girlfriend, he had a black girlfriend, and all that stuff. And so when they asked him about a reboot of Friends, he was like, oh gosh.
We were on a break.
I hate you, Andrew.
Now that sounds like Schwimmer.
That was good.
And he said that he would love to see an all Asian or an all black reboot of Friends, and then everybody proceeded to kill him for it.
Yeah.
Why did they?
Well,
Because
because they said like Friends was an all white reboot of Living Single.
And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
like not even as a joke, like it was.
Well, no, it wasn't, because the people in Friends were terrible people, and the people in
no, it was.
But okay,
Like in
sure.
No. Mm-mm. Not like no.
If
It
you
was.
could draw that, you not like you just draw the
So
parallels
here's-
yourself or whatever.
Yeah, no. It was like
go
Queen
for it.
Latifah explained that on the network that she was on, the guy who owned the network before he switched over to go to what network was Friends on?
NBC.
NBC. Before he went to NBC, they asked him what property did he like the most, and he said Living Single. So he took the exact concept of Living Single and then made Friends from it. It's literally a reboot of Living Single.
Wow. I know that.
crazy.
So that's why everybody was like, "What are you talking about? Friends is a reboot of all black show."
Is this a common, like, for years people have been saying this? Like, this
Oh
is
yeah,
that's
because
fascinating.
Queen Latifah said it in interviews. Erica,
Badu.
no,
That's all. I
want to say her name is
Erica
Alexander. Thank you. She said it in interviews for years now about how that played out and how Friends took off, and people thought that Friends was the original show, and the guys and actors in Living Single ended up making less money as they went on into later seasons because people were just Friends crazy, but they had the original show.
Just another reason to hate Friends.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Plus, Living Single had a better theme song.
Yeah,
Plus,
I
Living
watched-
the single was just 100% better. Friends was
Single.
terrible.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Get
Friends
your head
was
up.
dumb.
What? Get your head up. What?
The little clapping. I think it's because
No, I
white
like.
people
Hold
feel
on a
like
minute.
they
Whoa.
could- they
We're
could
not
be
gonna
on
talk.
beat.
We're not gonna talk bad about the claps. The claps kill.
That's what I'm saying.
Speaking of, I forgot to talk about this when we talked about Leslie Willis passing away, the writer of September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, and You're the Best Around from Karate Kid.
Karate Kid.
She wrote the Friends theme song.
Well, they can't all be good.
It's a good song.
No, that song sucks.
You're insane.
It's a
That
good
song's
song.
awful. It's no
but-
Living Single.
It's not. It's not Living Single. Sure.
But yeah, I actually the other night I was out of town with my family, and me and my wife watched the last 5 episodes of Friends that just were on TV, and that show sucks.
Friends is.
And it's not because
terrible.
they're all white or it's like
Yeah.
a stealing from a. It just sucks. It's
I
just
never
a bad
got
show.
into it, but when I watch it, I could see why people would like it because it's bland. It's very just like it's for everybody.
When it first came out, I was like, "Oh, this is great." It loses its steam way quick.
Oh,
But
yeah.
for the first couple seasons, you're like, "Hey, this is good. They have good chemistry. This is fun." And then as the seasons go on, you just kind of go, "Yeah, I'm done." My kids hate it.
Hate it? No,
Really?
it's terrible.
Everybody
Terrible.
watches it now.
My kids
It's
tried to
so
watch it
big.
because I was like, "Do you guys want to try it?" And they're looking at it like, "It's like this is dumb. It's not
Yeah.
funny." And what's with the canned laughs?
Damn.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you guys? Do you think David Schwimmer should have gotten the backlash that he did? Because clearly he was trying to be, I don't know.
I think his heart was in the right place.
Encouraging.
Yeah.
He was trying to be encouraging.
I think his heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
I think he means well, and I can't fault him for like, maybe he didn't know. I didn't know until now, and that was the thing. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting. So maybe he didn't know. So you can't really fault him for that. I do like that people are going, no, it was Living Single
Right.
first, but I think you can have that realization without having to like rag on him.
I think
That's how I feel.
I think there's
it's not like he said, "Nah, forget that. It's friends or die." Like
Did he come out and say that he was fighting for his character to like date people of color?
yeah.
And so from the way that it sounds kind of like he was championing his own cause. And if you're really that into making sure people are represented, you should know that your show is a ripoff.
Well, I think I'm more speaking of the lines of like, if they do Friends again, it should be all Asian or all.
It should be all POC.
Yeah,
like,
but and so people going,
Instead of
they
all
already
POS.
did that.
Uh-oh.
I love it.
I
Yeah.
don't know what POS.
Yo,
is.
Point
give
of
him, give him
sale.
the cup back. Give him the cup back.
Pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, your band?
Damn.
You're in the band.
No, we're in a different band. He is not.
I'm
we
not,
haven't auditioned him yet.
Oh, shoot. Just like Shaggy had to audition for Rihanna's album.
Oh yeah, and he was like, "No, thank you."
It wasn't me.
Right now, it's you, me, and a keyboard.
Damn.
That keyboard's
I
Keyboard.
will not audition for
Oh
your
my God.
to do a hook on your song.
It's crazy. Mike Myers has a great voice. Yeah.
If you want to redeem David Schwimmer in your eyes, you should watch this movie from 2007, I think, called Big Nothing. It's about he's like a professor, but has this neurological disease where he's like slowly losing all of his long-term memory, and so he wants to like. It's almost kind of like a predecessor to Breaking Bad because it's like a professor. Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Fuck.
All right, start working on the theory.
It's David Schwimmer. He's a college professor. He's a genius, but he has a neurological disease where he's losing all of his long-term memory. So eventually he's just going to be a vegetable. So he wants to make a final last-ditch effort to like make sure his family is provided for after he's gone. So he teams up with these two scam artists, which are played by Simon Pegg and Alice Eve, and he wants to basically plan a heist to rob somebody he knows. I forget exactly what. Maybe it's like the dean of the school or whatever, but he knows somebody that he knows they have like some very valuable thing in their house, and he hires these two people to help him steal it so that he can provide. He can basically make a nut to like provide for his family whenever he completely goes senile. It's very good. It's a great movie. It's like a dark comedy.
If it came out in 2007, that means that was the year that they were filming Breaking Bad, first season.
It came out
Because Breaking Bad came out 2008.
2006.
Oh, 2006. Oh, I do remember this movie. Yeah.
The 1 year did it for you?
Yeah, because I was like, I know he did a movie because he was trying to go from TV to film, and I think Friends ended 2004 time period. So I remember this movie, but I was trying to piece like, if it came out in 2007, it's not the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
That high five hurt my hand.
I'm sorry. I was too
What a
excited
punk.
about it.
Thank you for listening. If you like this and you haven't already, you should subscribe. If you like it and you think that you have a friend that might be interested in listening as well, you share this with them. Ask them to subscribe. If you want to learn more about the podcast or all of the cool nostalgic content we post on a daily basis, you can follow our Facebook page, the official Nostalgia Facebook page. Just search Nostalgia on Facebook and we're that page. You can also join our Facebook group. It's also the official Nostalgia Facebook group. You can follow us on Instagram @Nostalgia. If you have any thoughts or questions or anything you might want possibly read on the podcast, you can email us at nostalgicastpod@gmail.com. And if you want to support us in a more monetary way, you can become a supporter. You can go to our Nostalgia Facebook page. At the top, there's a button that says Become a Supporter for $4.99 a month. In addition to supporting the show, you also get access to exclusive content that nobody else can have. Bonus videos, bonus episodes. I don't know why I worded
Sign
that
up
like
to the
that.
Nostalgicast
anywhere else.
OnlyFans.
And you can have access to all that stuff. Thanks for listening.
So long.
At Robots and Comedy on Twitter.
See, that wasn't even me, but I was thinking about it.